Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Amirul Iman bin Mustafa, and I am from Group 2, and we are going to discuss about site possession and insurance and performance bonds. First definition: what is site? What is possession? And what is site possession? Site is defined as a piece of land where a building is or will. Possession is defined as the state of having or owning something. And basically, a general standard form of contract commonly used describes site possession, the contract right to enter the site, occupy and use the site, and carry out the specified work. Next, introduction. In this topic, I'm going to discuss about site possession, duration of possession, and contract period. For possession of site, the possession of site where the contractor have to right to enter the site, occupy and use the site and carry out the specified work. For duration of possession, start from the date of possession and site to completion date, and inclusive of extension time if the contractor is granted extension of time. And lastly, contract period. Possession will usually provide the contractor with such exclusive occupation and use the site as required constructing the works. Next, the first inspection of site from PWD Form 203A Division 1 210 2010. For the first clause is clause 11.1. Before submitting the tender, contractor should go inspect the site to specify himself regarding these matters. First, nature of ground and subsoil. Second, form and nature of site. Third, the extent and nature of work, material and good necessary for the completion of the works. Fourth, means of communication with the access of the site. Fifth, accommodation he may require. Sixth, contractor responsible for all the information and affects the tender. And the second clause is clause 11.2. Any information of document forwarded by the government to the contractor shall relieve the contractor of his obligation under the provision of this clause. And move on the next topic, possession of site. PWD Form 203A Revision 1 2010. For the first clause is clause 38.1 in the contract. The contractor must provide performance bond and performance guarantee sum on the date of possession. For the performance bond and performance guarantee, it will be explained by our next presenter. And next, exclude workmen and compensation policy, plus registration number for source scheme. Second clause, clause 38.2, employer is obligated to give possession of site to allow contractor to carry out his work. And the date of possession is started in letter of acceptance signed to the contractor. in the appendix of condition of contract in contract document. If not stated in the clause 38.2, the contractor must be given possession of site within reasonable time for him to carry out the work. Usually the time is 2 until 3 weeks for or max 60 days. Employer also contractor also enable to commence the work in accommodation to program, to execute the work unimpeded by orders, and perform the work in satisfactory manners. Continue. Next clause 38.2 continue. The contractor must given possession of site within reasonable time for him to carry out the work. Just as I explained before, 2 until 3 weeks maximum or maximum 60 days between letter of acceptance and site possession. Next clause 38.3. The extent of possession that must be given to the contractor is not necessarily to be the whole site. The restoration means giving possession for some part of the work on different dates or condition obtaining which amount to some abstraction or restoration of possession. If not stated in clause 38.3, the contractor is entitled to assume reasonable degree of possession site to enable him to plan his work. In first point means is contractor still can access the site, but some of the site. Next topic, delay in giving site possession. SO has the power to defer or change the given of possession of site for whatever reason. There are two situations of duration. First, not exceeding 60 days or exceeding 90 days for the date of possession fixed in the letter of acceptance. If delay not for the first delay is not exceeding 90 days on clause 38.4. The time giving for the delay from original date of site possession is less than 90 days until new date of site possession. Continue. SO need to issue instruction to revise the date of possession, the contractor to be granted EOT, contractor has to proceed with the works, contractor will not be entitled to any loss or damage caused by such delay, and contractor is not entitled to terminate the contract. And this is delay giving exceed 90 days in clause 38. From the original date of possession, the time given is more than 90 days and 14 days for the SO giving the causes of delay of contract, and 14 days time to contractor to reply to the SO. Continue clause 38.5. In the reply, contractor have two options to reply. First option is agree to proceed with work when the site is available, or he cannot claim for loss and damage, or he can determine his own employment. For option 2, the contractor can reply as he can determine his own employment and he is entitled to claim for loss or damage caused by the delay. Continue clause 38.5. If the contractor does not given handwritten reply in 14 days, will happen. The contractor is obligated to proceed with the work, and he is considered to not taking the option to determine his employment, and he cannot terminate the contract after agreeing to proceed with the work. And the second delay is in clause 38.9. Position delay exceed 90 days. From the original date of possession, more than 90 days is given, and SO give cause of delay to the contractor, and less or same 40 days given to contractor to reply to the SO. Continue on clause 38.6. The contractor, the reply of contractor have two options. First option, to request for the affected part to be omitted from the contract. If the SO agree, it's become a variation. The contractor is required to carry out the work and he cannot terminate the contract. Second, if the SO does not agree, the contractor to proceed with the work when the portion of the site is made available, he can claim all loss and expenses. He cannot terminate the contract. For option 2, the contractor may reply, agree to proceed with works when the relevant portion of the site is made available without entitlement or damage for the delay position of the site, and he cannot terminate the contract. That's all for my part, and I invite next presenter, Hamza. He will discuss site possession in more detail, which is in PAM Contract 2018, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Amir Rahman. My name is Muhammad Hamzah bin Ahmad, and I am going to explain about the site possession based on the PAM 2018. The first clauses is clause 9.0, access to the work. In clause 9.1, it stated that the architect, consultants, and their authorized representatives shall at all times have reasonable access to the work and to factories, workshops, and other places where any construction plan, materials, goods, and work are being fabricated, prepared, or stored for the contract. Based on these clauses, it stated that the architect and consultant have right to access, permitted to examine, inspect, test, check the manufacture, progress of manufacture, and fabricated of all elements of work as it deemed to fit this on-site or off-site. The second clauses of site possession in the PAM 2018 is in clause 21.1, commencement and completion. In clauses 21.1, it stated that on the date of the commencement, possession of the site shall be given to the contractor, who shall commence the execution of the work and regularly and diligently proceed with and complete the same on or before the completion date. In the event there is a delay by the employer in giving possession of the site to the contractor, the architect shall grant an extension of times under clauses 23.8g, provided always that the delay in giving possession of the site does not exceed the period of the delay stated in the appendix. The contractor shall not be entitled to determine his own employment under the contract. Based on the clauses 21.1 that I have just read just now, the contractor must be given full or exclusive possession of the site. The meaning of this point is the whole site, even though some part may not be needed until later stage of the project, is in possession of the contractor. The second point is the contractor is entitled to assume unrestricted possession of the whole site to enable him to plan his work accordingly, unless there is other agreement based on the contract. The architect will also issue instruction to fix the date for site possession if the date of commencement is not specified, and then the date become invalid, which is not due to the contractor faults. The employer will refer the possession of site to a new date. The architect has the power to defer the possession of site for any reason. However, if the date of possession is deferred, the date of completion will be revised accordingly. For example, the date of possession of site is deferred for 2 or 3 months. The date of completion will also differ for 2 or 3 months. Based on the clauses 21.1 commencement and completion, it also stated that delay in giving possession of site does not exceed the period of delay stated in the appendix. The contractor shall not be entitled to determine his employment under the contract. Based on these clauses, it stated that if the period of delay is not stated in the appendix, it shall be continuously 3 months. Okay, now, if delay not exceeding the period of delay, as you can see, the figure, original date of site possession and the new date of the site possession does not exceed 3 months of the period of the delay. Now, in the clauses 21.1 commencement and completion also stated that in the event there is delay by the employer in giving site possession of the site to the contractor, the architect shall grant an extension of time. So, based on these clauses, the contractor can claim for an EOT within 3 months of period of delay. He can also entitled to claim loss damage suffered by him. However, he cannot terminate his own employment. Next, if delay exceeding the period of delay, as you can see the display, original date of site possession and the new date of site possession, the period of delay for these two dates is exceeding 3 months period of delay. So, for this, contractor can claim for loss and damage suffered by him. He can also choose to proceed with the work or terminate the contract. If proceed with the contract, EOT must be provided by the architect. Next, clauses 21.2 sectional commencement states. It says that where there are different dates of commencement for section of the work, they shall be stated in the appendix. Based on this clause, it stated that if there are two number of date of commencement for section of work, it must be stated in the appendix. Next, clauses 21.4 postponement or suspension of the work. It says that the architect cannot use his power to order the postponement of any work to justify delay in giving the contractor possession of the site. The meaning of this clause is that the architect cannot use his power to order contractor to postpone any of his work just to justify delay in giving possession of the site to contractor. Next, the comparison or difference between the PWD form and PAM contract. The first difference or comparison is for PWD form, the extent of possession that must be given to the contractor is not necessary to be the whole site. However, for the PAM contract, the contractor must be given full or exclusive possession of site. In this comparison, we can see that the PAM contract has the advantages, which is the contractor will be given full or exclusive possession of site. However, for the PWD form, it's not necessarily to be the whole site. The second comparison or difference is for the PWD form, the contractor must be given a reasonable degree of possession to enable him commencing the work in according to the program unless there is agreement to the contractor. For the PAM contract, the contractor is entitled to assume unrestricted possession of the whole site to enable him to plan his work accordingly. Based on this comparison, we can see that the PAM contract also has the advantages which the contractor will have the unrestricted possession of the whole site to enable him to plan his work accordingly. For PWD, the contractor only get to have a reasonable degree of possession to enable him commencing the work in according to the program unless there are agreement to the contractor. Thank you. That is all for my presentation. Now I will pass this presentation to Hakimi.
Thank you, Amza. My name is Muhammad Hakim bin Azhar, and I will explain about insurance work. Insurance engineering is a common requirement and is required in construction contract. The purpose of the insurance is to cover the building work in progress, loss or damage occurred during construction. It is necessary for the public sector or private project. It also guarantees for the client in case the contractor default in insurance. Insurance can be arranged specifically for each project or as an annual policy covering all projects undertaken, with the insurance premium paid on work turnover. These are the relevant clauses in PWD Form 203A. It consists of insurance of work, taking of insurance, default in insuring, payment of insurance in the event of any loss or damage, cancellation of insurance, insurance of work. Meanwhile, in PAM Contract 2018, it consists of insurance of new building by the contractor, contractor risk new building or work, additional risks to be covered under the insurance, placing of insurance with licensed insurance companies, and the last one is application for insurance claim proceed. Next one is the difference between PWD Form 203 and PAM Contract 2018. Number one is the placing of insurance. They say insurance with or without an excess clause shall be effected with an insurance company that is approved by the superintending officer according to clause 18.1b in PAM Contract 2018. According to clause 20.8.3, the licensed insurance company shall be approved by the employer. Next one is validation period of insurance. Cancellation of insurance is made 30 days after receipt of notice the government. Where claim exceed insurance amount, the surplus shall be borne by contractor. It surplus a notification procedure and obligation. The contractor to ensure a mandatory procedure is followed any cancellation process under clause 18.4. In PAM Contract 2018, according to clause 20.A.1, insurance will be valid after the defect. Insurance be extended accordingly when extension of time has been granted. On the other hand, partial completion or early certificate of completion require proportionate reduction of insurance coverage. Number 3 is value of insurance sum. According to clause 80.1 in bracket A, full value thereof plus any amount such amount which may be specifically stated in appendix or elsewhere in the contract document. Car insurance policy for a value not less than a contract sum, plus the sum cover professional fee under clause 20.1, 20.A.1. The next one is extension of insurance. In PWD Form 203.A is not stated. Meanwhile, in PAM Contract 2018, under clause 20.A.1, the notification for renew the insurance shall be given 1 month before the expired date of the insurance. Number 5 is additional risks to be covered under the insurance. In PAM Contract 2018, other than risks covered under clause 20.8.1, additional risks require example vibration cover for piling need be specified in contract bill. Beside the design of the building may take a risk because there might be a problem to the drawing in one day. Thus, contractor can cover the additional risk. Number 6 is insurance of work. In PWD Form 203A, according to clause 42.1 in bracket E, insurance of the work, contractor shall give a notice to the insurer that the part of the building is partial occupation taken over by the government. Meanwhile, in the PAM contract, it is not stated. This is a chart of validation period of insurance. That's all from me. Thank you. I will pass to the next person, which is Alif.
Thank you, Akimi Azhar, for the explanation about insurance. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Alif bin Yaqub, and now I will explain about bonds between PWD Form 203A, Revision 1 2010, and PAM Contract 2018. First, performance bond. A performance bond, also known as a contract bond, is a surety bond issued by an insurance company or a bank to guarantee satisfactory completion of a project by a contractor. A job requiring a payment and performance bond will usually require a bid bond to bid the job. When the job is awarded to the winning bid, a payment and performance bond will then be required as a security to the job completion. For example, a contractor may cause a performance bond to be issued in favor of a client for whom the contractor is constructing a building. If the contractor fails to construct the building according to the specifications laid out by the contract, which is most often due to the bankruptcy of the contractor, the client is guaranteed compensation for any monetary loss up to the amount of the performance bond. Performance bonds are commonly used in the construction and development of real property, where an owner or investor may require the developer to assure that contractors or project managers procure such bonds in order to guarantee that the value of the work will not be lost in the case of an unfortunate event, which is such as insolvency of the contractor. In other cases, a performance bond may be requested to be issued in other large contracts besides civil construction projects. Another example of this use is in commodity contracts where the seller is asked to provide a bond to reassure the buyers that if the commodity being sold is not in fact delivered for whatever reason, the buyer will at least receive compensation for his lost cost. So these are the difference of bonds between PWD Form 203A and PAM Contract 2018. First point is submission of performance bond. In PWD Form 203A state that the contractor shall provide the performance bond on the date of the position of site under clause 13.1a. In PAM Contract 2018 state, the contractor shall submit the performance bond to the employer before the date of commencement under clause 37.1. Point 2. Form of performance bond. PWD Form 203A state performance bond shall be in the form as in appendix issued by an approved licensed bank or financial institution incorporated in Malaysia according to the clause 13.1a. In PAM Contract 2018, performance bond shall be in the form as specified unless approved by employer under clause 37.2. In point 3, validity of performance bond. For PW Form 203A, the performance bond shall remain valid and effective until 12 months after the expiry of the defect liability period, which is DLP, or the issuance of the Certificate of Completion of Making Good Defects, which is CMGD under clause 13.1a. For PAM Contract 2018, the performance bond shall be remaining valid until 3 months after the completion date. Contractor has the duty to extend the duration to expire after the projected practical completion of the works under clause 37.3. Next point is failure to extend validity. In PWD Form 203A, if the contractor failed to submit the performance bond on the date of position of site, will deduction of 10% shall be made for the first interim payments and subsequent interim payment until the total amount deducted aggregate to sum equivalent to 5% of the contract sum under clause 13.2. So, according to the clause 13.3, the government shall be entitled at any time to call upon the performance bond. The contractor fails to perform their obligations under the contract and such failure is not remedied in accordance with this contract. Another example, under the clause 13.4, if the payment is made to the government pursuant to any claim under the performance bond, the contractor shall issue a further security in the form of additional performance bond or bonds for an amount not less than the amount so paid to government on or prior to the date of such payment, so that the total sum of the performance bond shall be maintained at all times. So for PAM Contract 2018, if the contractor fails to submit or maintain the validity of performance bond, employer shall be entitled to withhold or deduct an amount equal from contractor's progress payments under clause 37.4. Next, payment from performance bond. PWD Form 200A, according to the clause 13.6, in the event that this contract is terminated under clause 51, which is event and consequences of default by the contractor, hereof the said performance bond or any balance thereof shall be forfeited. For PAM Contract 2018, based on the clause 37.5, in the event the employer determines the employment of the contractor, the employer may call on the performance bond and utilize such amount to complete the works and recover his loss and or expenses and refund only the balance to contractor upon completion of work. And lastly, return of performance bond. For PWD Form 203A, after the completion of making good of defect and giving of the certificate of completion of making good defects, the performance bond may be released or refunded to the contractor under clause 13.5. For PAM Contract 2018, it is divides the portion of money retained into half and refund back to contractor, one during the issuance of certificate of practical completion and the other one during the issuance of certificate of making good defects. In the event the contractor determines his own employment, the employer shall within 28 days return to the performance bond to contractor for cancellation. So, for the PWD Form 203A, Clause 22.2 and 42.1 didn't mention in the PAM Contract 2018, it is difference between these two forms of contract for performance bond, which is in Clause 22.2, Design Guarantee Bond, the contractor shall provide a design guarantee bond issued by the licensed bank for a financial institution before the issuance of certificate of practical completion. The amount of design guarantee bond still be 5% of the value of the said part of the works as stated in the appendix. The design guarantee bond still remain valid for 5 years from the date of practical completion works. If the defect or damage occur to that particular part of work as the result of any defect, fault, insufficiency and inadequacy in the design including workmanship, materials and equipment which has become defective due to design default, the government have the right to claim the design guarantee bond according to the amount losses by the government. If the design guarantee bond is not provided, the government have the right to claim on the performance bond which is equal to the 5% of the value of the said part of works that provided by the contractor. Next, for clause 42.1f, performance bond not affected, the performance bond or balance will safety released or refunded to the contractor on the completion of making good defect. It will more similar with clause 13.5. So that's all for me. Thank you and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat Hari Raya Aidilfitri, maaf lahir dan batin. Thank you.